Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Wall Street Reporter's next Superstock live stream for today, February 13th, 2020. We have an exciting new company to present you today. It's FaceBank Group. Stock symbol is FBNK, and the CEO is John Textor. For those of you who are new to Wall Street Reporter's next Superstock live stream, our premise is very simple. We're looking for companies which have 10x upside potential. And our goal is to get you those companies which are right now at key inflection points, which have multiple catalysts in place that can really drive transformational growth and upside appreciation in these stocks in the months ahead. Most importantly, one of the key ingredients is a CEO who gets it when it comes to maximizing shareholder value. And I think most of you will agree that our formula is working. Just in the past couple of months, two of our recent presenters have increased over 350% each. And today we're going to find out if FaceBank Group is going to be the next big winner. So the format for today is simple. John is going to present for about 20-25 minutes, and then we're going to open it up to Q&A. And it's really your questions that makes these events special. So please make sure to submit your questions. We'll ask your questions, and we'll have some great information today. So with that said, please welcome John Textor. John, you're on.
Great. Thank you, Jack. Really appreciate you setting this up, and thank you everybody for your time who's out on the call today. FaceBank Group is probably a pretty unique company compared to what you've seen in the past. We're going to talk a little bit about what it means to be a digital human company. I'm going to show you some examples of technology. We're going to keep it fairly macro today, since this is likely a new industry for many of you. And we'll try and get to some of the more detailed business model issues as well. But we're certainly going to have a number of follow-up calls that Jack and Wall Street Reporter has already planned, and a number of events that we've planned as well. So FaceBank Group is a technology-driven intellectual property company. We're focused on the digital human space. It's a market that you wouldn't recognize as an industry. Our goal is to develop digital human technology, acquire other promising companies in the digital human space. As much as we have been given credit, much in the past through our operating subsidiaries, Pulse Evolution, and some things that we've done personally for great digital humans or virtual humans, it's pretty clear that you can never be the best in the world at anything for long if you can ever make that claim. And we have a nice balance of technology development strategy and an acquisition strategy to recognize not only our strengths internally as a company, as people, but also the great things that are happening out in the industry. It's a roll-up play as well of a digital human industry that is largely not considered an industry, something that we think is driving incredible applications in entertainment, education, artificial intelligence, and we intend to be one of the leaders in helping to define this as an industry and hopefully be the first great company in this industry. We're very likely, the world's first company to introduce digital likeness and personal facial assets for consumers as an intellectual property play. Obviously, celebrities are already considered intellectual property. They trademark their faces, they put them into apps, both in physical photographic form and also digital form. But I think there's a good chance we're the first company to come along and talk to you as a consumer and say, your face is an asset, you're scanning it into your phone, you're using it in apps, you're unlocking not only your phone, but maybe pay apps, you're using it in entertainment and games application. Well, it's intellectual property. You're no different than Justin Bieber and David Beckham and everybody else that might want to protect their asset and use it creatively and in some cases commercially. Our goal is to collect, protect, and activate what I think could be one of the largest ever contemplated intellectual property portfolios, and that's the world of consumer faces, not David Beckham and Elton John and Floyd and Mayweather, as we've recently signed a relationship. But you're scanning your phone, you're using your face, you're having fun with it. Your face is an asset, and one of the largest intellectual property portfolios we've ever contemplated is the world's faces as they're being activated and enjoyed by their users, and hopefully, and with our help, with their consent. and that's a pretty big goal, and we're going to try and tackle it. To start, I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. I grew up as a programmer. Probably was writing my first programs in very simple programming languages back when I was 16 and 17. And by the time I got more serious about technology, I did get distracted. In 1987, I mean, let's face it, the investment banks were paying more than I probably could have made as a programmer. So I was always a technology guy at a young age, enjoyed technologies, but I also learned how to raise capital for businesses, how to combine businesses, and I was at Lehman Brothers for a good amount of time. Ultimately, the inventor side of me, or the fix-it side of me, the technology side of me, I got involved in the early internet applications in the mid 90s. There's a funny quote on the screen. I was featured by Forbes magazine in 2016 as Hollywood's virtual reality guru. That could not be less true. Sometimes you get bad headlines that you think are untrue. Sometimes, like this one, you get great headlines. But I think what it really says is I've been around in the space for a long time, and early virtual reality, early online 3D experiences, early multi-user game environments, and along the way, if Forbes wants to give me more credit that I'm due, there's certainly a whole lot of people smarter than me out in Hollywood. I was a senior executive, chairman, co-chairman of Digital Domain, executive responsibility for about 25 blockbuster feature films at Digital Domain. It was incredible. Academy Award-winning visual effects studio. We had great success there, doubling revenues, returning that company to prominence, bringing in incredible new films, along with my partner, who was a major film director. We did have great difficulty with that business model as a services model. Our Los Angeles studio, you could win Academy Awards all day long, but it's a business that by and large was a services model, and it's now propagated all over the globe, competing with labor in China, India, elsewhere. So we had good times at Digital Domain, and we also learned some hard lessons at Digital Domain. In the end, that company was restructured by my Chinese partner, ended up being about a $3.5 billion IPO 6 months after my departure in 2012 in Hong Kong. So the company that was built by the many digital artists and by my predecessors and under my leadership for, I guess, about 7 years, ended up being incredibly valuable. The lessons we learned is that you got to own IP. And when I left, I focused on my knowledge of character, my knowledge of intellectual property, and we created FaceBank ultimately. And I hope you're going to be pretty impressed with what we've done. Other significant successes in my life, I'm financially probably much more known for Art Technology Group. I got together with some Wesleyan friends back in the mid to late 90s. The company had been dropped by SoftBank and Bain and some others. Frankly, the capital we brought in, my partner went on the board, helped them reform. The CEO and the chairman, with our backing, ended up being a top 5 IPO in 1999, $10.5 billion market cap, liquid, Hambrick & Quist IPO. Our $2.4 million investment, we returned about $550 million in liquidity, cash, tradable securities, in a highly liquid stock. So our technology group, one of the leaders in internet personalization back in the late 90s. BabyUniverse.com, small turnaround. Why do I throw this in? Well, along the way, when you're an investor and a company, doesn't quite have what they need in terms of management, sometimes you have to enter the business. I learned a lot of my operating experience there at Baby Universe. It was a turnaround investment when we showed up. They weren't making payroll either. We put $1 million in, got them public on the American Stock Exchange. When I came in as the CEO, the stock was at about $4 a share. Only took about 8 months to get it up to $12 a share in the year 2007. And we sold it to eToys in a $270 million deal. So a tremendous turnaround and great success for us there. Virtual Bank, one of the world's earliest internet banks. I was the largest shareholder through my holding company, was a founder, launched in one of the toughest months in history, May 2000. Bad time to come out as an internet company, but it was a solid technology platform, a great business concept. We quickly gathered about $4 billion in customer deposits. One of our first customers, the family office of Michael Bay, he brought, sorry, not Michael Bay, Bill Gates, actually a little bigger than Michael Bay, my old partner at Digital Domain. So he brought in Microsoft. We became the in-house internet bank of Microsoft, WorldCom, EMC, successfully sold that in 2004. And Virtual Bank, I'm very proud to say, is still operating 20 years later as one of the earliest internet banks, obviously quite successful. Back to FaceBank. Yeah, along the way, we've learned a lot about technology. We've learned about content. We've learned about businesses of scale, and that really all comes together in our development and roll-up strategy. In terms of technology, we're a leading digital human technology company. Our principals have achieved incredible success in visual effects. We've taken that experience into facial rigging systems and human animation, and we're going to develop our own technologies and continue to build on what we have, some of which I'm going to show you. But we're also going to buy companies, frankly, that are, I think, trapped in services models, incredible technology, and by and large are giving it away on services margins that ultimately aren't going to be valuable for them in the long run. Those of us that come from the visual effects community understand that you can win awards, you can impress the world, but unless you own a piece of the intellectual property, you're not really getting anywhere. And so that gets me to our next point. We have a focus on content and IP. Technology is incredible. It drives a lot of this stuff. It opens up the eyes of consumers to content in ways that we never imagined. I mean, look at all the great entertainment companies that we can think of, and they're all driven by something different, incredible technology. Remember, the first time you saw a Pixar movie, it just looked different. It didn't look like a cartoon. Think about Netflix today. If they didn't have such an incredible user interface delivery platform, you might not be watching all those kind of B-level quality shows that we're all falling in love with and getting addicted to. At the end, technology in the entertainment space is like today's next delivery platform for what's really the most important thing. It's always been about the poem, the song, the movie, the show. Content has always been king, and technology does wonderful things to help us enjoy content as our interests change and our habits evolve. But in the end, it's really true, that cliche, content is king. It always has been. And intellectual property, you got to own it. Otherwise, your technology is going to get run over. It's going to become obsolete. Today's great technology company is tomorrow's roadkill unless you own a piece of the IP. So our development strategy in terms of what we're putting our money into, some of the properties we're going to show you, our acquisition strategy, if we can buy undervalued media companies, we'd like to do that. And then this last point, audience. I'm not sure if it's because I'm 54 and I'm patient, or maybe it's something that I've learned, but size matters. These great apps, they don't just get viral, right? I mean, they get viral on a platform. They get viral because you're prepared not only with a globally relevant and fun and exciting new app, but you're prepared to take it to the world. So you've got to have the infrastructure to be global. You've got to be able to collect currency in all those countries. And you got to have an audience that's paying attention, because no app matters, in my opinion, unless a billion people know about it. And so as we look at our strategy, we're going to be developing technology, acquiring technology companies, developing content, not a lot of development. We don't want to invest too much there. We think we can buy IP and partner with IP very efficiently. And in the end, size matters. Expect to see us do deals in our roll-up strategies that give us audience and get the really fun things that you're going to see today out in front of the world. Now, why do we think we can do it? What kind of support do we have? We have incredible shareholders. Tencent Holdings, they're a company that backed Original Force Animation, a terrific company out of Nanjing, China. They've got offices in Los Angeles. And Tencent Holdings funded Original Force Animation to fund us. They led the deal. We got $10 million through them, and they wanted to see what kind of applications we can bring into their environment. Well, what do they own? They own WeChat. WeChat is the principal way that people communicate across China. About 1.1, 1.2 billion installed users. So we're not the most important company in the Tencent portfolio. They only gave us $10 million through Original Force and the leadership of Original Force. But it's a great partner to have, and you can bet, and we've already started this a few weeks ago. We started banging on the door of Tencent and Original Force in China just before the new year, ready to roll out the FaceBank applications to a very large audience. And hopefully our shareholder that put a lot of money into us is ready to take us in front of their WeChat environment. That's why we think they invested in us, and it's a tremendous strategic shareholder to have. The Lego family out of Denmark, incredibly supportive. They own a number of great media assets, not just Lego. Highlight Event and Entertainment, and Highlight Communications, a tremendous company in Europe. They own 12 or so Marvel characters in partnership with Marvel. They control the marketing rights to UEFA Champions League. And a couple of these brands across the bottom, we are actually owned by the estate of Marilyn Monroe, the estate of Elvis Presley, and the estate of Michael Jackson, which actually helped us to create this company a number of years ago. The big owner behind the brand of Elvis Presley and the brand of Marilyn Monroe actually gave us some news this week. Just yesterday, we put a press release out there. We're happy to say that the people that matter to our business strategically and financially know exactly who Authentic Brands is. We signed a significant strategic partnership with them. They're a company that owns a ton of brands relevant to us: Muhammad Ali, Elvis Presley, Marilyn Monroe. But they have a lot of living celebrities as well: Greg Norman, Shaquille O'Neal, Dr. J. They own Prince tennis rackets, Volcom, Juicy Couture. They bought Sports Illustrated, also very relevant to some of the stuff we're going to be talking about today. And as part of this very significant strategic partnership with a company that has $10.5 billion in retail sales reach across their brands, they're now very willingly and excited to be taking us in front of their consumers. They have 265 million Instagram followers, and the deal with them actually obligates them in a very friendly and cooperative way to take us every month in front of all 265 million of those Instagram followers. And now we're exploring some really exciting ways to start extending the digital likeness of their celebrities across so many of these new applications. Authentic Brands Group is a significant shareholder, and as of the deal we signed with them this past week, now they're a significant partner. Our top level goals, this is, unfortunately, I can't give revenue guidance right now on this slide, and we're going to be doing that in the coming months. But we're basically a $200 million revenue run rate company right now, based on an acquisition that we're going to talk about today, an acquisition that gives us reach into 180 countries currently and 400 million customers in our customer list. The reach that I'm talking about there in terms of customers is actually referring to the Authentic Brands Group deal that I talked about a moment ago. In terms of celebrity faces, we're signing digital likeness agreements with celebrities that I'll describe, where we own anywhere from 5% of the profits that would come off of virtual ABBA to 25% that would come off of the digital likeness applications associated with Elvis, Marilyn Monroe, Muhammad Ali, 25% with Floyd Mayweather, 40% to 20% depending on the application with Michael Jackson. And we have 0 consumer faces now. So this is a year that we're going to use our celebrity relationships, our reach to all these customers, to start scanning, storing, protecting, and activating consumer faces. We have a goal towards the end of the year to have customer reach across partnerships and contracts where we truly can access those customers of 565 million consumers, 50 celebrity faces, and 50 million consumer faces that we hope to have scanned into FaceBank by the end of the year. 2025, those are big numbers. Customer reach of 2 billion, celebrity faces of 100. That's actually pretty easy, we think. Consumer faces of 1 billion. That's going to be tough. But when you start off backed by people like Tencent Holdings that own assets like WeChat, that's a target that we think we can realize. There was an app that a lot of people heard about called FaceApp. Everybody was scanning their faces into an app, and they could see what they looked like in a beard and hair as an older person. In about 3 weeks, that app scanned about 150 million faces because it was just fun. And then we woke up and realized we had just given our face to a small company in Russia that when we pressed the I agree button, we were giving them a royalty-free license in perpetuity to our face and all the photos in our phones. So people are a bit crazy when you let them sort of play around with their selfies. This is the selfie culture. And that's one example with FaceApp where, one, you should have been caring more about the protection of your face. And 2, because it was so fun, 150 million people in 3 weeks, we think some of the applications that we have will allow us to reach this goal of 1 billion consumers in the year 2025. I want to talk about some operating results real quick, and we're going to make a little bit of news on this call. We're going to give a first indication of our fourth quarter numbers, really just revenues and EBITDA, and we'll give more details in the coming day. Third quarter numbers, 5.8 million in revenues. That was our first revenue quarter. Fourth quarter, 49.5 million in revenues, a significant increase. significant volume of commercial activity starting in the fourth quarter of this year. That puts us at about a $200 million run rate, and then 53.3 million that we'll report for 2019. Now, there is some audit risk in that number, as there is in every number, but given the fact that our European subsidiaries are already communicating that number in various ways that they're required to do commercially, it's important that we give you that guidance on this call today, because it really is a situation where a little bit of Google searching and you're going to be able to find that number now out in the public. So it's important that we share it immediately with our shareholders. So incredible revenue growth over the last couple of quarters, from 0 in the second quarter to 5.8 in the third quarter to 49.5 in the fourth quarter. I'm going to go back real quick to that prior slide just because I want to pick up some numbers off the balance sheet. We've aggregated a tremendous amount of assets. You know, when Digital Domain was restructured and sort of all of that was over, you know, we were actually awarded 100% of the technology in the Florida animation studio, and a lot of that stuff was developmental and new and really valuable to us. That was contributed to this company at startup. We acquired the technology portfolio of Pulse Evolution, known to have brought you some of the most amazing, you know, digital human experiences. And we also acquired another business called FaceBank AG and Nextway in Europe. That's all been appraised, written up to the balance sheet. That leaves us 373 million in assets, shareholder equity of 234 million. And you can see our cash position at the end of the third quarter was $6 million. At the end of this past year, slightly higher. And I can tell you our cash position has been moving up. It's now currently over 6 million euros. And we're going to have to report that along with our guidance in our 8K as well, which will follow this call. Excuse me, let me catch up back to where we were. Top level goals we discussed. Let me get to really the heart of the matter. We talked a lot about the digital human industry. What is it? I mean, what's a digital human? It's a computer generated character at any sort of place in the spectrum of realism, built to replicate the mechanical and behavioral personality traits of a human being. Now, it could be a cartoon with sophisticated facial rigging. It could be a character, as you see in Avatar, Tron Legacy, the younger Jeff Bridges, one of the projects at Digital Domain. Of course, the very famous Tupac Hologram. So when you build a computer-generated character, it's not always going to be a hyper-realistic human. It can likely be a character in a video game. And the people that do this work, probably the most underpaid people in the world, have been largely coming out of the visual effects industry and are in the video game industry. And when I say underpaid, it's because, you know, they're competing with labor across the world in China and India and elsewhere. And it's very unfortunate that that visual effects industry really developed by a group of people that were also just focused on their own films. I mean, they developed the industry to make these incredible movies. The industry wasn't really set up to own intellectual property because the great directors and filmmakers that created this industry had their film companies, had that IP ownership, and it ultimately didn't get shared within the visual effects industry and the artists themselves. So, but that's where this work is done. That's where the best work has ever been produced, and we're going to show you some of that. Where have we seen these characters before? And I'm really just going to touch on some projects that, you know, we've been involved with personally prior to this company and some with this company. The first major project that really sort of, you know, captured the world's attention was The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. It was the first time a digital human acted as a lead actor in a major feature film, in this case for 52 minutes before you saw Brad Pitt for the first time. Now, if any of you saw this film, directed by David Fincher, visual effects supervisor from Digital Domain, Eric Barba, a terrific animation lead, Steve Krieg, Janelle Croshaw on supervision, incredible team of people, head replacement, that's a digital head on top of an actor body. And it was so compelling and so believable, it actually won the Academy Award for Best Makeup. It also won the Visual Effects Award for Eric and his team and Digital Domain for Best Visual Effects. Now, the process was very different back then. You know, the study of Brad's face, you know, the facial action coding system, which allowed us to take different expressions of Brad and combine those and teach sort of the rigging and the animation of the character to act like Brad Pitt. That cost $23 million for digital domain at that time, and it was not quite an automated process as you would need if you're really going to go into the digital human business. But this was, by many, the holy grail of animation, the curious case of Benjamin Button, and it set new standards in the industry that we're all still, really aspiring to. The next sort of really interesting project that I think is relevant to some of the stuff we're going to talk about today is the Tupac Hologram. It was a much easier project. It was a team of about 20 folks at Digital Domain, and they didn't have hair replacement. They didn't have, it was head replacement. They didn't have, hair simulation. They didn't have a lot of difficulty, around the micro expressions in the mouth. There was a microphone in front of the wrapper. It was a project that came together relatively quickly. But what it did was sort of shock the world on the utility of digital humans. A couple 100 million people watched this on YouTube, and then suddenly everybody was asking, well, when are we going to see Elvis Presley? When are we going to see Bob Marley? Now, we at FaceBank are not big fans of the late celebrity hologram space that we and our friends at Digital Domain and others sort of accidentally invented. We do think that this really sends a message on what digital likeness can be for celebrities, creatively and commercially, and also what it can ultimately do for consumers. Now, our first project within our consolidated companies was virtual Michael Jackson. And bringing him, that's actually Mark Cuban in the front row, if you can see some of the people there. I know your video is going to be skipping a bit, but please go to our website at facebankgroup.com and you can see much better quality videos of some of these past projects. So this is Michael Jackson coming out in front of a live audience as a digital human, singing a song that nobody's ever heard before. And this was done in partnership with the Jackson estate in promotion of a new album. It's very artificial at the outset of this performance. Characters are coming out of a screen one by one, coming out of a painting rather, coming to life. And then we're having this brief kind of experience with Michael Jackson several years after his passing, and in partnership with the Jackson estate. We really believe this was an incredible way to reintroduce some of his music to the market. It obviously did incredible as a marketing effort to help launch the Escape Atom, which opened very well as a result of this and other promotions. So again, we're really talking about the hologram music space, which we're happy to have helped contribute to, but is really not the business model that we're looking at today. So where are digital humans going to be today and tomorrow? Well, they're increasingly present in entertainment. Digital humans are characters in video games, but you're seeing them in some really interesting places. Look in the upper right portion of the screen. This is a simple AR app where you're going to scan your face into an app, and if you're a Wolverines fan, suddenly your face can be painted up in yellow and blue, and you can send a message to your friends or just a photo and get ready for the big game day. There's some more sophisticated work where people are taking human likeness and inserting it in kind of really high end, beautiful artwork. You can see what you look like as a futuristic android or a superhero. You can age yourself, as people did in the Face app. Your face is being used to unlock your phones, to create playful, character emojis. Look at this woman with the pink hair down in the lower portion of that graphic. She's actually a virtual influencer, I guess, with probably about 140,000 followers on Instagram, and she's fake. She's not real. She's a digital human, and she gets your kids excited about what clothing to wear and what fashions are in. And so there's so much that we can do. Just sit back for a moment, regardless of your age. Just let's admit it. We're in the selfie culture. We'll do anything with our faces. We'll put dog noses and ears on them, and now we can do a lot more with them. But we got to think about this. Our faces are assets. We need to protect them while we have fun with them. The proprietary technology of our company, I'm going to hit this relatively quickly. A lot of this is discussed on our website. This gives you just a quick kind of a glimpse on all that goes into the building of a digital human. It's not sort of a topical art experience like, you would think, where somebody's sort of painting on a frame by frame basis, kind of all these images. You have to build a computer generated human that goes way beneath the surface of the skin. facial rigging systems with thousands of moving parts, you know, meniscus fluid in the eye, you know, the lacrimal, caruncle, the tear duct, making sure that the eyes are sort of focused and pointing to an object. You know, these are all the things that you think wouldn't necessarily be that noticeable to the average user. But there's this thing called the Uncanny Valley that everybody in our industry knows about. If you don't get it all right, if you don't have the detail, if the eyes aren't dilating in the sunlight, you're gonna have this very weird reaction, this feeling that you're looking at this creepy digital character. So, you know, the industry, you know, has been upping the standard in digital humans for a good long time now to make your interaction with digital humans, you know, very comfortable so that they can seamlessly pass into entertainment properties and artificial intelligence applications and some of the fun stuff that's in the future. And that's, we're going to go a little fast across some of these slides because I don't want to go too long on time. But, you know, just in short, you know, if it costs $23 million to build the digital human and the surrounding visual effects for the curious case of Benjamin Button, we've now built tools to make it much, much easier to position the facial, you know, poses of characters much more quickly. Notice as the jaw moves, the latissimus tendon and everything going on in the neck and the shoulders is moving along with it. So a lot of this work with our company, $40 million over time invested in technology, has made this a much more scalable and efficient process. And this is another example of one of the tools in real time and the way that artists are able to really numerically indicate things like, you know, eye position and jaw position, and based on some of the initial actions that you take to create the acting performance of a character, that determines how that face can move beyond those sort of initial movements. You can puff your cheeks when your mouth is shut, but you can't puff your cheeks when your mouth is open. And the facial rigging system that we've built and that is happening in studios all over the place, it really has to anticipate all that. Now, Digital Elvis, you know, he's 30% done. This is nowhere near completion. We are not working on a project actively, but you know, we're obviously beginning to work on the digital assets where we have rights and getting them ready to sort of move out into applications. Now, Michael Jackson, a number of years ago, looked pretty good in 2014, obviously, because we've got a long-term relationship with the estate and an interest in the asset. We've continued to work on the face of virtual Michael Jackson as an animated character. Obviously, he looks pretty good, and he's part of our portfolio for applications in the future. I am going to pick up a little bit of time on some of these text-driven slides. Please, again, go to facebankgroup.com and look at our website. We go into our operating companies, our entertainment subsidiary, our early stage consumer face apps company, FaceBank AG, our company in Switzerland that owns Nextway. This is the company that we acquired that's given us a lot of the revenue growth, but it's Nextway that allows us to turn on any of our apps in 180 countries across a huge customer base in 140 different currencies. So, you know, it's not like we're just a little technology company that's trying to figure out how we go viral. You don't just go viral, you got to have infrastructure, and Nextway gives us that infrastructure on the Mayweather project and things we're working on. You know, if we've got something that's interesting to people in the US, we can get it to people in Argentina, Southeast Asia, across Europe. And we've got a couple $100 million in revenues with a now trending better than break even infrastructure. So we're really prepared well to be global. Now, our strategy, we're a tech-driven IP play. We talked about it a bit earlier. Why? Because technology gets obsolete. You know, the way we were building Benjamin Button back in 2008 and before, frankly, you know, nobody's doing it that way anymore. Everything changes. You can't be the best, you know, in the technology space for very long, but intellectual property lasts a long time. There's only one Michael Jackson, only one Elton John, only one David Beckham. So we leverage our technology to get into these terrific relationships. When we sit down with a celebrity, we're not the guys that are showing up saying, hey, we're going to build your digital head and put you into a hologram. We're not, as I said, really into that. I don't know why somebody would watch 20 songs in a row of a digital human holographically projected. But I do think those characters can be inserted very strategically with high impact into entertainment properties. I do think that David Beckham shouldn't have to go to every photo shoot that's going to take him away from his family. Digital David is just as ready, can be posed in thousands of expressions, and can drive everything that David Beckham wants to do with his face in print ads and some of the more interactive stuff. And so the Icon 2020 plan is signing celebrities. It's relatively easy to do because we're not pitching them on a specific project. We sit down in front of them and say one thing that we know they're going to agree with. Your face is really important to you. Let us protect it. Let us help you extend it creatively and commercially. And so the Icon 2020 plan are specific projects and a growing catalog for leading celebrities. Now, the Consumer 2020 plan, for the first time in 2020, in a very large scale, we're going to be scanning consumers' faces, protecting your face using blockchain protocol, making sure that you're the only person that can access that face, and you can decide when you want to download it into your video games or have fun with it in these sort of neat, sort of cool and exciting apps that we're going to talk about. But that's really our business model going forward. Now, technology over IP, again, tech goes obsolete, IP lasts a long time. Tech brings us to these celebrities where they're relatively easy to engage with because our experience as a company and as people is very good. In past projects, we can make them very comfortable. I think we can protect their digital likeness and we can make them look good as they extend into this sort of digital space. And we've got catalog agreements where we just sign the celebrities and we have a partial ownership, 25 to 40% of what they make in the future. Now, you could never get that while they were alive, but in this new space where we're bringing incremental revenues, imagine going up to Elvis Presley when he was alive and saying, "No, give me 25% of whatever you make on tour." You'd never get it, but you can get 25% of the digital likeness of Elvis Presley as it gets deployed commercially. Now, the project-based stuff, virtual Floyd Mayweather, Kung Fu Panda, these are celebrities that signed with us with a specific idea of what to do with their digital likeness. In the case of Kung Fu Panda, not a celebrity at all. We own a partial interest in Kung Fu Panda rights across all of Asia, which we talk about a bit on our website. Now, celebrities lead to consumers. If you're building a celebrity portfolio and you can't always, commission them into a project, how can you use the celebrities? Well, I don't know if this is true or a rumor, but I don't think anybody cared that much about that little app called Face App until Drake the rapper told people about it, and suddenly everybody was doing it. So if our goal is to collect and protect and activate the world's faces, our celebrity relationships are structured in such a way that they're actually obligated to go out in front of their Instagram followers and their audience and say, "I'm with FaceBank, you should be too." One iconic celebrity could be worth 100 million consumers to FaceBank. So rather than waiting around, as businesses in our space have done in the past, for the celebrity to decide to act, to launch that project that you're waiting on, that's a very lumpy development dependent entertainment business. Well, we're getting the celebrities to tell their consumers, who frankly are much more active with their selfies and soon their digital selfies, and they put them to use in apps where you get micro payments, for dressing up someone's avatar. Somebody scans their face with you, and a few weeks later, you can send them an action figure, 3D printed of their likeness. There was a test. A good friend of ours had a small company that did exactly that in a St. Louis mall, and 1,200 little girls showed up and scanned their faces, and 4 weeks later, they had action figures of their likeness to play with Barbie, right? So getting the celebrities to teach consumers that your face is important, you should protect it, and you should go have fun with it, that's probably the greatest value of our incredible celebrity relationship. The building blocks of value for our company: credible foundation of experience and visual effects and virtual reality, personalization experiences across the internet and digital content protection, technology, the tools that we got out of the digital domain restructuring and also the purchase of Creature Art Mechanics Digital and Pulse. We've acquired Pulse, their entire technology portfolio and their rights agreements. We've acquired Nextway across Europe. This is the company that's driving a lot of our revenues and gives us a presence in 180 countries. We've got intellectual property that we either own partially or we effectively own through revenue share agreements that are long-term in some cases and in other cases short-term, but they give us extensions through performance. And customer reach. Look at the numbers of people that watch holographic Tupac or virtual Michael Jackson, 150 million viewers for one and 200 million for another. And with FaceBank Nextway, we have a customer list of 400 million people. We have access, we believe, through our shareholders to that WeChat audience of over 1 billion. And we have 14 million active subscribers of people that buy software every day from us at Nextway. Now, the reach of Authentic Brands Group, our new partner, I think I'm actually a little low on their retail sales. They own 50 plus brands, 34 million web visitors, per month, and 265 million followers across social media. So these are some great, it's a great foundation for our business model. State of where we are, technology is complete. We're ready to go. We've got actionable IP like virtual Floyd Mayweather and Kung Fu Panda. Distribution platforms to give us global distribution acquired, and the consumer apps building out very quickly and launching in the second quarter. That's when I think we're really going to start having fun, when we start teaching consumers that their faces can be put in play as well. The actionable IP that I'm talking about specifically, imagine, right? The boxing matches that we always wanted to see. Who would win between Floyd Mayweather and Sugar Ray Leonard, both of them fighting in their prime? Well, that's possible now. Simulation technology allows you to see how their tendencies would play out in an actual fight. Human animation technology, we've seen it in movies and shown a bit of that to you here, can give you those hyper realistic, digital actors that can stand in the middle of a ring, filmed and produced in front of a live audience, where our celebrity relationships help fill those seats, globally broadcast through our relationships established across the world through Nextway and with pay-per-view partners. That's a fight I'd want to see. Who'd win between Floyd Mayweather and Sugar Ray Leonard? And I'll tell you, there's a lot of folks in the Mayweather camp that want to see how Floyd Mayweather would do versus Bruce Lee. Well, that's a fight we can make happen as well. So don't laugh too quickly, right? Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather, everybody thought it was a bit of a gimmick fight, a boxer versus an MMA fighter. That's a bit like a giraffe and a hippopotamus. They just shouldn't belong in battle. But Floyd got over $100 million in upfront advances for that pay-per-view contract. The world watched it, loved it, and would probably watch it again. Muhammad Ali is now signed with us. We do not have a planned matchup with him and Mike Tyson, but you can bet we're trying, and we'll be calling Mr. Tyson. And that's a long-term decision, that the Muhammad Ali estate's going to have to sort of consider. But they are interested today in seeing all the extensions of Muhammad Ali that are possible, as well as all the other ABG celebrities. Kung Fu Panda, we own 2.4% of Kung Fu Panda, and we think we can acquire up to 50%. This is a show that we expect to do very well across China, and expect to start seeing revenues and cash flow from that later in 2020. Iconic celebrities, a growing catalog. I'm going to have to sort of dive into our consumer plan a bit later, maybe one of our follow-up presentations, and really talk to you about what that means. It's basically an app. You've seen others that are using your face. You saw the virtual try-on app from L'Oreal's Makeup Genius for image metrics, which was incredibly successful. But we'd like to be the world's first virtual bank for the protection, activation of the world's faces. As you have fun with your face, please don't give it away as quickly as you gave away your name and your email address. Scan it, protect it, let us store it for you, and we'll serve it up for you. It's your asset. You should never lose it just because you're having fun with it. And the big idea behind FaceBank is it's the consumer that's the intellectual property, not just the celebrity. And with 2 billion consumers out there that are connected to the internet, many of them scanning their faces into their phones every time they turn on their phones, you should think about where your assets are going, how they're being protected, and how you can have fun with them. So I'm going to wrap it up there, Jack, because we just ran a bit long, but I'm very much looking forward to going through our detailed business model in the future. And quickly, I'd love a question on revenues if we have time, because it's one thing we didn't really touch on the revenue model.
Okay, John, so we're going to start off with questions that came in from the people who registered earlier, and then we'll go to the live audience. So anybody in the live audience is welcome to put in your questions, and we'll ask. Okay, so actually, the first question is Francis has got 2 questions. What is driving revenue? Trying to see if I can read this question. Okay, what is driving revenue growth? And can you talk more about the Nextway subsidiary, how it generates revenue?
Yeah, so Nextway is a company that was created many years ago. We're thrilled to invite now SoftBank as one of the shareholders that came to us through Nextway. It was an internet enabling company that would allow e-commerce companies to engage in commerce globally. I'm sure it would have been valued at an incredible number many years ago. For us, we did not buy it because we wanted to be in the enabling space for third parties, but it has an incredible infrastructure that allows us, as I said, to be in business immediately. In the meantime, we do enjoy the customers that are using the platform. So Microsoft, Adobe, Ubisoft, software companies, security software companies like Kaspersky, content companies. So Nextway basically is able to sort of, move all those downloads out to internet nodes all over the world to make sure that delivery is very efficient. They are licensed to do business in all those countries. That's tougher than you think. They know exactly who to pay in taxes, how to collect in different currencies. That's also very difficult for those of you that have traveled across Asia. And so we expect the revenues of Nextway to grow nicely under our leadership because we're getting a little more aggressive about the kind of people we can bring into that distribution architecture. So expect that to grow from sort of 200 million to 240 across, the next year. And they're now just at the point where they're reaching the inflection of EBITDA, a positive operating cash flow, in a positive sense. And so not only are they not a drag on us as a great platform to take our new form content apps out to the world, but they're also just now starting to make money. And a lot of their customers, like Kaspersky and others, are very interested in the FaceBank app as a secure ID solution. So we get to cross-market FaceBank through our customers as well. So that's kind of the base of our revenues right now. The highest growth that you're probably going to see in 2020 is both in the acquisition space, where we're able to acquire companies very affordably. Our metrics, our rules are this: if we can buy somebody for 3 times cash flow, and we think that's going to be valued under us as a U.S. public company at 9 times cash flow or 15 times cash flow, depending on their growth, that's a really smart thing for us to do with our stock as a currency. It's going to make your shares go up. I'm the largest shareholder right now, around 30%. It's going to make my shares go up with yours. So acquiring a company at a low multiple of cash flow with significant revenues that will trade at a higher multiple of cash flow, if that business brings us technology, brings us content and IP, if it brings us audience because they have a ton of customers already, that's a deal that we'll do if it's complementary with the longer term goals of FaceBank. And we do believe, with our incredible shareholder group, our tremendous investment banking relationships, we are now qualified to be up on major exchanges. So we're going through the uplisting process as we speak. We think our currency and acquisition is going to be very important to revenue growth this year. Now, additional revenue growth organically is going to be project based. So, exactly when in the month do we drop in something with a Mayweather or something with a Kung Fu Panda, whether it's upfront sponsor payments even before ticket sales, or pay-per-view advances even before the event. And it's going to be really interesting to see as that stuff drops later in the year, how much organic revenue we're going to get from those projects. But I'll give you an example. One Kung Fu Panda show in one location in, say, Chengdu, China, where the pandas are from, that one show will do 40 million a year in cash flow. And the only question is not, is Panda going to be successful in China? Because it already is what percentage we own of that. And we expect to be increasing through a relationship with Broadway Asia, our percentage ownership of that over the year, maybe to as much as 50%. So that's kind of our revenue plan this year. You're going to see the consumer revenue plan start later in the year. When you scan a face, people always buy something. They're going to buy a shirt with their face, a doll with their face, so they're going to buy their digital products, an avatar. And we've got that projected to start influencing, the fourth quarter of 2020, but really not getting strong until 2021.
Okay. Next question. Tyler asking, what pay-per-view projects do you have in 2020?
We can only tell you, sort of by rule and just disclosure and Reg FD and all that, we can only tell you who we've signed. We've given some very strong guidance on our website talking about what those projects might look like. We do have a profits interest in, a project that is out of our control that we helped launch through our, our development efforts and our technology, and that's virtual ABBA. That project we don't control, what exactly they're going to do with their characters. Is it a music video? Is it a tour? So in the case of the celebrity project, we're thrilled. ABBA gave us credit for coming back together as a band. We put their Instagram post on our website. But on projects like that are driven by celebrities, it's very much in their control. Mayweather is something we're working on very quickly. I hope all of you will appreciate now that we're finally doing investor relations. We've hired an incredible firm out of San Francisco, the Blue Shirt Group. But we're now starting to talk about some of those contracts that we signed earlier. We're not an OTC, stock promotion company. We took the Mayweather announcement and we put it into an 8K, and you never even saw a press release, because we're more interested in managing the relationship properly with the estate, making sure that when this event happens, it shocks the world. The reason 200 million people went crazy for Tupac is that nobody knew it was coming. Same reaction with Michael Jackson. So expect us as a public company to tell you when we sign a deal with a major celebrity, expect that they wouldn't have signed with us if they didn't have an actionable IP idea, but don't expect us to tell you what the wonderful, incredible, shocking event's going to be before it happens, because shock value has frankly been how we launched the digital human trade. So, that's going to be a little frustrating, but hopefully we surprise you pleasantly with some of the stuff you're going to see from us and our celebrity relationship.
Okay, next question is, how will you scale?
Let me get back to sort of the answer that I've, let me try and make sure I explain it a little better. When you have an app, just because you come up with this thing that everybody's going to want doesn't mean you can get it out there. I was a major shareholder of eToys. I was a major shareholder of Baby Universe. I went through all those things, and wow, it's really exciting, but the orders come in and your warehouse isn't strong enough. You're doubling revenues. The software you bought to help ship stuff, well, that's no longer working. You got to go through an integrate. So we frankly think we've leapfrogged all of that with the acquisition of Nextway, because we literally can show up in our portfolio company with software, with apps, with content that can immediately be turned on in 180 countries, in 140 currencies. And please do not underestimate the value of that acquisition. It's as if we're like Amazon and we bought the warehouse and the infrastructure that makes them ship immediately. It's as if that was all bought before you even heard of it, of Amazon, because you've never heard of FaceBank, but we're already at 200 million in revenues, and we've got millions of customers, and we're collecting in 140 currencies. So how you scale is you develop an app, or you prepare a celebrity that's obviously well known to get out in front of the world, either on an entertainment project or another kind of app. And you make sure that when people hear about it, they can access it. When they need to download content, they're downloading it from a location in Japan instead of the slow latency problems all the way back to Florida or New York. Like, we are built, for battle on a global scale. We're already scalable, and our celebrities can reach millions of consumers. Our products are attractive to millions of consumers, and we have the digital commerce distribution infrastructure to make sure when somebody wants us, they can get to us and they can pay for it.
Okay. Got a live question from the live audience question here. David is asking, how much will my virtual face cost me?
Well, we're not going to give you the quality of Michael Jackson, so don't worry. You're going to scan your face either in one of our trucks, which we have planned, and we'll do very few of those, but they're terrific, and you'll see them in all the kind of highly visible marketing locations. That's where you'll get a very high quality photogrammetry scan, just like the big celebrities get, in incredible detail. It'll be fun, and you're probably going to buy something before you leave the truck. We also are thrilled that Authentic Brands Group has some major shareholders that also own some major malls. So expect to see a couple of well-placed kiosks. It'll be a slightly different kind of scanning experience without as many cameras, but it's still going to be very high quality. You're probably going to want to buy something as you walk away from the kiosk, but you're not going to pay for the scan. Your digital likeness is not going to cost you anything. you're going to scan your face, you're going to upload it to us. We're the bank. And, you know, when you call us or log on and say, I'd like to see a super hero alter ego of myself, you might pay us anywhere from 20 cents to $4, or, you know, if you want to download your character into a video game, you know, as a gamer, you're already doing these in-app purchases. You know, kids are famous for, you know, changing avatars every few days and putting them in different clothes and taking on entirely different characters. So it's not even that your hyper-realistic likeness is going to be what you have fun with. It's going to be all these characters that come off of you. So it's not going to cost you anything to scan your face and become our customer. We feel really confident you're going to use your face, and that's when you're going to start paying our partners, and that's when you're going to start paying us. And here's a neat idea. We're going to treat you as a token. Not that everybody knows what that means, but in the crypto world, that means you are the most protected asset there. We're going to lock your face down in a digital wallet. And as we bring major partners to us that want to market to our customers, that actually allows us to share the revenues with you. Now, Facebook and Snapchat and Instagram, they're making a lot of money off of your assets. They're not sharing with you. Not only that, Facebook is getting sued for $35 billion in a class action lawsuit because they're misusing your facial assets. We see that as being entirely worthy of reversion. You scan your face with us, we protect in your digital wallet. As we bring marketing partners to you, you decide whether or not you want to buy into that marketing program. And we've got a revenue share model that will lay out over time that if we're using your face to make money, as Facebook does, we're going to share those revenues with you just the way we share them with our celebrities.
Okay, next question from David is asking, what are you doing with WeChat?
As I said in the early part of the call, you know, Tencent Holdings invested through one of their portfolio companies called Original Force Animation. They invested $10 million into us with great interest in our technology and how they could use it in their portfolio companies, their traditional animation companies. And we've had deep conversations about what apps would be appropriate for the WeChat audience. We have no specific app right now for the WeChat audience. However, I can tell you what I think they're going to like. I just returned from a trip to China. Happy to say, and I'm sorry for what's going on over there, of course. You know, we were there in early January and got back before the new year. We met with Tencent Holdings again. The FaceBank app, obviously, you know, giving consumers the ability to scan their face, have fun with their face, lock down their face, protect it, enjoy it. You know, that's perfect for the WeChat audience. The people at Tencent have told us as much, but we do not have a deal yet. We're just very proud of them as a shareholder.
Okay. Any more questions? Anybody have any last minute questions here? Okay, that wraps it up. All right, John, thank you for the presentation, and we look forward to having you back here next month.
Terrific. Well, thank you, Jack, and thank you everybody for staying on the call. I know we went long, really a full hour. You know, we do have a lot to talk about, but please think about the simplicity of what we are as a business. We're a digital human company. We're developing great technology. We're going to be acquiring great technology. We're going to be acquiring terrific content and intellectual property rights. And, you know, when we're sitting here with 25% of Elvis Presley, Marilyn Monroe, 40% of Michael Jackson, 25% of Muhammad Ali, a small percentage of Kung Fu Panda, I think we've proven that our technology is getting us into some of the greatest and most powerful and attractive IP relationships in the world. But we're really looking forward to teaching the consumer, you know, what their likeness is worth and how they can have fun with it. This is the selfie culture. We think their digital selfies are going to be even more fun to them than their photographic selfies. And we think we're in a very good position to consolidate this industry of incredibly talented digital artists and technology people that are stuck in services models that would benefit by being part of the FaceBank family, as we hope you will as shareholders. So thank you, everyone, and thank you, Jack, again, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you everybody for joining us.